Guys, today I am sharing the fastest movement subclass inside a Crucible. If you were one of those leaving countless messages saying that I hate warlocks, well, you better drop a like on the video or you're gonna whiff your next Nova Bomb.
Ooh, you're hard showing off.
Just like any build, there are downsides and upsides. You are going to whiff your super because, I don't know, 50-50 chance whether it hits a target or not. The upsides though are incredible. You have so many Thrillings as a strat block. If your teammates are lost, wandering around the map, don't worry. You are the one-man army with this build.
Only one enemy is left.
Let's go ahead and look at my stats. Starting from the top, I am investing 150 health stats. For top bracket players like myself, health stat has become the most valuable stat to invest in. Basically, you take damage and you recover more quickly. There is a minimum and a maximum amount of health that I really recommend personally, from 130 stat points to 160 stat points, but investing beyond those points is actually worth it if your armor can handle it. Next, in this build, we want to invest 100 melee stat points so that we can get the fastest cooldowns possible. Since in this build, we're using Arcane Needle, the more charges we have, the more we get to utilize specific aspects. Next, we have the grenade stats. I'm rocking 92 stat points here so that I can get plenty of grenade throws. Next, I have 85 stat points for super. I honestly was trying to really push this to be higher, and in other cases tried to ignore it, but having a super is really clutch. Even if it is a strand super that can whiff on a target, just having one kind of has the intimidation factor at least. The next stat is class. I got this one as high as I could, 96 stat points. More rifts, the better, because I have a special strat that I incorporated into this build that honestly might be kind of OP, and we'll have to make a whole video dedicated to it. But for now, just keep in mind more rifts, you know, more Thrillings, because that's what we're going to be talking about. And the last stat is weapon stat. I got 20 points here. That's kind of like the minimum that I hit for most of my builds so that I have a decent reload speed and decent weapon swaps. If you're curious what type of armor archetypes I'm using on this build to obtain these stats, on the helmet I have Bulwark, on my gauntlets I have Brawler, the chest piece is just a random roll, and then we have the boots with Paragon. My class bond is going to be Grenader. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about abilities, aspects, and fragments. So starting from the left, we have the Rift. So apply the same logic as to why you invest in the health stat as to why you would use the Rift for most of your Warlock builds. Being able to sit on it and constantly regenerate health means that you can constantly engage in combat. While the Rift keeps you healthy, this is also a way to just constantly dish out damage to build up your super. I'm using Burst Glide and I'm using Arcane Needle. So this is a needle, it goes pretty fast, and when you hit a target, it actually unravels them. But we're not gonna go beyond those details because we're actually not using this melee whatsoever, at least not in the way of throwing it to do damage.
What?
Next up, we have the Thrilling Grenade. There is two options here. The Thrilling, when you want to play a little bit more grounded and do additional damage, but then there's the go crazy mode, speed beast mode, the movement mode that you're gonna see right now. Take a look at this clip. Oh my god! Yo, cinema. Yeah, you go across the map so fast. Honestly, I've played Dawnblade with Icarus. I've played Grapple Hunter with two of them. I've done some crazy Eager Edge plays, but I think this one takes the cake. There is nothing that will surpass the Mach 10 speed of a Weave Walk Grapple Warlock. It's insane. Practice it because it's worth it. And in order for you to practice it, I kind of have to tell you how it works, right? So let's go to a private match real quick. While grounded, you're going to grapple towards the air. And before your character touches the grapple point, you will activate Weave Walk and then press jump, and then you can exit Weave Walk. There's so much speed boost here and momentum. It's so good, to be honest. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the aspects. So we got Weaver's Call. Whenever we activate the class ability, we send out Thrillings, especially the ones that we have perched. And one of the cool things about this aspect is that it has a passive buff where you do damage, you're actually getting perched thrillings. So that is pretty nice because you can send out thrillings without having to actually use your rift ability. So there are 3 ways that I like to use the rift aspect here. One is the traditional way. I'm weak, I pop rift, simple as that, regenerate health. The second way is whenever the enemy team and my team are just engaging, but nobody's playing aggressive and nobody's really getting a defeat. So you pop a rift and you're holding down locations that are very important and you regenerate health constantly, while the enemy team does not. They get weaker and weaker until you get a pick. The third way is whenever I know players are slightly weak, there's a lot of stuff going down, like multiple targets nearby. When I get close range to mid-range, I pop the rift because I can also play aggressive like that, hold the peak shots, but send out thrillings that just disrupt them. It causes chaos. They have to jump around or look at the floor to shoot them while I'm in their face trying to shoot them back. The next aspect, which honestly just is the key here to the build, is Weave Walk. So whenever you activate Weave Walk, it's been buffed now. It actually gives you and your teammates Woven Mail, and depending on how many teammates you give Woven Mail, the timer lasts longer. This is pretty fun because whenever you come out of the Woven Mail, you're a little bit more resistant to damage, so you won't actually die, which is a crazy combination because in Weave Walk, you are already so resistant to incoming damage. The thing here is that we want to make sure we maximize the timer on Weave Walk, so it's important to have Arcane Needle cooldown maxed out because that's what it's tied to. The more Arcane Needle energy you have, the longer you can stay in the Weave Walk. And the longer you stay in Weave Walk, the more perch thrillings you generate. Whenever you come out of it and you start doing primary damage or whatever, you are going to start sending out thrillings. Take a look how I activate Weave Walk with max melee energy to get the max amount of perch thrillings, and then just find engagements to send out the thrillings in while I'm using my primary. I need you to keep in mind though that the perch thrillings are not the only benefits going down with this aspect. Whenever you Weave Walk, the enemy team cannot kill you. They have a really hard time dealing with you, which means that if you pop this ability and you run around their face, they're kind of just looking at you like, I can't do damage to this guy, which means you're an insane distraction for your teammates to follow up behind and get some free damage while they're distracted on you. When you combine this with the grapple take that I showed you, you are unkillable because not only are you moving so fast, you're a hard target to hit, but you do have the damage resistance. So even if they do damage to you, when you come out of Weave Walk, you're going to be like max HP.
In the fight, take the zone. Fall darkness. Only one enemy is left.
Dude, what was that round? All right, let's talk fragments. Starting from the left, we have Thread of Transmutation. It does give you plus 10 melee energy, which is important, but it also says that whenever you have Woven Mail, you can get a defeat and make a tangle. This works with Weave Walk because this aspect can give you Woven Mail. Next, we have Thread of Evolution. Honestly, really good fragment here because it gives us plus 10 super, but it's going to buff the range and the damage of the thrillings, which is what our Strand Lock does a lot of. Next up, we're using Thread of Bonding. It gives us plus 10 health, and honestly, that's the only reason I'm using this, but it does say that whenever we get a super kill, it's going to suspend nearby targets, so you might find yourself making a clutch play with that. Next up, we have Thread of Finality, which we're only using for the plus 10 class. The last fragment here is Thread of Ascent. I just love the extra handling and the self-reload from throwing a grenade, whether it be the grapple or the threadling. Honestly, such a good fragment, I could not pass up on it. Okay, next, let's talk about my exotic armor choice, Sanguine Alchemy, and this exotic is so insane. When you sit on a rift and you damage a target, they are going to get marked. You're gonna see them through walls for a good amount of time. It's kind of crazy, but it doesn't stop there. This exotic also states that if you have a element weapon matching your subclass while you sit on the rift, you deal additional damage. And look, it's not only on the Empower Rift version, this also works on the Healing Rift. I tested it. This is so insane because you're getting free damage sitting on a rift, which you're already doing so much as a warlock. And the scenarios that you want to sit on a rift for when you're engaging in combat, Sanguine Alchemy just helps you achieve the goals of that, which is getting a pick or like causing the enemy team to back off. Upon further testing with the healing version matching the element, you can get some crazy 2 bursts with a pulse rifle or some crazy like time to kill changes on a 2-tap hand cannon, while using the empowered version and matching the element type like Strand Round Robin or Strand Last last Thursday did have some benefits. Honestly, it was not needed, which is the craziest part. You could just sit on a healing rift. The last benefit to this exotic states that if you get a kill while sitting on a rift, it's actually going to pause the cooldown. So basically it lasts longer and it is pretty clutch. Personally, I think this exotic is S tier, and it's kind of crazy that it hasn't caught on fire yet. You know, once it starts doing that and once I make a video covering, I think Sanguine Alchemy is going to be a meta breaking exotic. So on that note, what weapons would be best to pair with a Strand Warlock and Sanguine Alchemy? Honestly, any primary that matches the element subclass. But I will tell you, you don't have to use a shotgun hand cannon. You don't have to use a normal shotgun or a sniper. Use whatever you prefer. Same with the heavy ammo slot. But as for primaries, I will mention some that work best. So last Thursday, being a strand damage, using even things like elemental honing or head seeker would yield some crazy 2-burst shenanigans. Another strand weapon that I tested was the unloved hand cannon that's like a 2-round burst. Honestly, it was crazy how fast it was killing opponents and allowing you to proc perks like kill clip. Another strand weapon that I really enjoyed was the round robin. It being strand damage gets the buff and also works with your subclass. And that is just a short list of so many different strand weapons that you could use, like trials weapons that have the strand affinity. Honestly, you can mess with all of those and see what works best for you. I want to go ahead and move on to the mod section. It's going to be pretty simple, straightforward. On the helmet, all I'm running is targeting mods that match my elements. And then I'm also using dexterity mods on my gauntlet. I like to use bolstering detonation so I get class ability energy when I do damage with a grenade, especially if I'm using threadlings. Those threadlings will usually do damage, so more rift spam, the better. On my chest piece, nothing crazy. I'm just running anti-flinch mods that match the elemental affinities on my weapons. On my boots, I am running 1 athletic mods. It feels really good with the strafe, but I'm also running 2 invigoration mods, which means that if I get an overpower, I get more melee cooldown, and I really want to have as many arcane needles as possible so that I can spam weave walk so much throughout the game. On the class bond, the final mods are Reaper, so whenever you pop a rift and get a kill, you make an overpower. I'm also using Bomber and Outreach to further help with the cooldowns. Take a quick look at my artifact. These are the mods that I'm using, and I'm gonna give a quick shout out to a couple of them. Shield Crush, because I'm gonna have Woven Mail, means my melee energy recharges faster. Third Blast, or whenever I do make a tangle and I shoot it with a strand weapon, I'll do a lot of damage. That combines well with Tangle Web because they will get suspended, and yeah, you know, they just have no way to get away. Elemental Benevolence and also Tightly Woven are nice because I'm proccing that weave walk, buffing my teammates, helps with my cooldowns. Elemental Coalescence is really good here too because you have a chance to just make a tangle for free. It was very fun using the Threadling Proliferation before it got nerfed or deactivated because it would just work so well with the Strand Warlock build, but you could just substitute that for something else now. And honestly, I'm very happy with the buffs they gave the subclass because it was pretty impactful, and I feel like Strandlock has been playing much better, and I think the only thing holding it back now is just that super. It's holding it back from being a top tier meta defining subclass inside of places like Trials of Osiris. Anyways, that was the video. Thanks so much for watching my build breakdown. I hope I see some of you Strandlocks out in the wild, and yeah, enjoy.